Bismillah, we're going to start short with some recitation. Yes.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن المتقين في جنات ونهر إن المتقين في جنات ونهر إن المتقين في جنات ونهر في مقعد صدق عند مقتدر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الرحمن 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 علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان والأرض وضعها للأنام والأرض وضعها للأنام والأرض وضعها للأنام فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام وأحب ذو العصف والريحان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان خلق الإنسان من صلصال وخلق الجان من مارج من نار فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان رب المشرقين ورب المغربين فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان صدق الله العظيم. Sorry about my voice, it's going.
Thank you so much. And where the people standing, this means that they want to, for those that are standing, you want to sit down. Could you make the shuffle forward a little bit more, just to make space? You can tell a lot of people in there. And there's always space, there will always be space, so we'll make space for shuffle. Just to make sure that everyone who comes in, there's a space for them. I just want to take us back to the Quran. I want to take us back to the beautiful ayahs that Brother Sharif opened this space with, which is the ayahs of Rahman, Surah Rahman. And it's interesting because whenever we speak about nature, and whenever we speak about the blessings of nature, the blessings of the rain, the blessings of the sun, the blessings of the rising of the sun, and the blessings of the setting of the sun, we tend to always turn to Surah Rahman. And before we continue the program for today, I just want to take a few moments to introduce yourself to the person next to you. And I really want you to sit and think about, because Allah in this surah, Allah is constantly asking us, which of the favors, which of the blessings do you deny? Which of Allah's blessings are you denying? Right? Allah is asking us this question constantly. I sent you this. I sent you the rain, the sun, the moon, the plants, the herbs, the food. But what are the blessings that you're denying? Right? So it's constantly asking, which of the favors of your Lord are you denying? So just really a few moments just to kind of share with the person next to you, 3 or 4, just a few moments, just to see what blessings, what rahmah, what mercy did you witness today? Right? What mercy of Allah did you witness today? That could have been on your way in to Rumi's cave. It could be just being in Rumi's cave, to be honest. Or it could be something even very small. It could be a smile of baby, just looking upon the face of baby. Anything, right? There's no wrong or right answer to this, but where did you witness the mercy of Allah today? Right? So I'm going to give you a few moments just to share it with the person next to you, inshallah, and then we'll continue. Thank you. That's an ingenious way that a private school teacher taught me. I'm sorry to shock everybody, but it's a really beautiful way of just bringing us back. And it sounds, from what we could hear in the space, it sounds like there was a lot of mercy that's been witnessed today. And I really want you to hold that with you as you continue sitting in this space, particularly that with the last final days of Ramadan, which is a time of mercy. But also just to think about that as we continue our conversations today about our Green Deen Iftar, inshallah. One of the mercies that I truly am witnessing and I'm so grateful for is the mercy of Rumi's cave, right? And the embodied mercy of what this space is, regardless of where they are, whether it's in Cricklewood, whether it's in Kilburn. It's always in Northwest London, which is what's going on. But wherever it is, right? Whether it's here in this country or whether you're with them at Umrah, there is an inherent mercy, there's an inherent rahmah with the space. And that's something that I constantly witness and I'm constantly very grateful for. So alhamdulillah, really, really grateful to be back in Rumi's cave, to be held by Rumi's cave for the Green Deen Iftar. And I really would like to invite either Glyza or James, just to say, but who's been to Rumi's cave before actually? So we've got quite a few people that have been, but then we've also got quite a few people that have never been. So I really would like to introduce you to Glyza, James, I'm not sure, I don't want to, Glyza, who is a beautiful steward of Rumi's cave, like, mashallah, 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 mashallah. And he's just going to speak a little bit about, just tell us a little bit about Rumi's cave and what you guys are doing.
Sure. Salam to everybody. So Rumi's cave is the embodiment of a vision that Sheikh Barakah had. For those of you who don't know Sheikh Barakah, he's our founder. And he was traveling through Pakistan and he was invited to speak at this cafe where there were some people who were sort of struggling on their way on the path in Islam and stuff. So they wanted to create this neutral space and it was called Rumi's Cafe. We couldn't completely rip them off. So we chose Rumi's Cave being a place of introspection and stuff. So it's a place where anyone can go, believing or not, somewhere in between where you can just have that sort of time to come back to yourself, realize, okay, there's so much more than the rituals. It is spending time together. And I truly believe that the things that, that Sheikh has encouraged, aside from the usual pray your fives and everything is, how did you treat person next to you today? Were you the ambassador of the faith that you should have been today? And everything. So Rumi's Cave is just that chill space where you can be in as I've heard, you can't really have a lot of gatherings like this. There's conversations that happen here that maybe we don't feel they can be had at home or at the mosque. So that's why we have this whole third space idea. For the Harry Potter fans, it's the room of requirement, basically. Whatever you need happens out in the cave. And yeah, so it's really interesting. I usually like to, when I'm with people, they say, what's the cave? I'll throw it to the person next to me because I really like to hear what people say. And it's so many different things, literally according to where they're at and where their journey is. And literally, you'll just find we should have like a little mood board that says everything because it literally is everything and nothing at the same time. But yeah, that's good old Rumi. Thank you.
Thank you. Beautifully explained, but also there's so much more. There's so much more. If you've never been to Rumi's Cave, please, this is your first time. Please, support the work that they're doing. Honestly, they're really, I want to say transformational, but also really almost saving really keeping people in a place of rahmah and beauty. Really, really beautiful work. MashaAllah. May Allah bless them and bless Sheikh Bakr. There are more people coming. And I really want us to be beautiful stewards of the space and beautiful keepers of the space by always making room. So I'm going to ask you again to shuffle forward a little bit more. There's so much space. I mean, like, to be honest, we'll just shuffle so that those that are coming in they have a chance to sit. Okay. So Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Has anybody been to a green Deen Iftar before? Like 7 people. For those that have been before, alhamdulillah, welcome. For those that have never been, again, welcome and welcome again. The Green Deen Iftar is run by the Green Deen Tribe. I'm Rabi Amali, I'm part of the Green Deen Tribe. And the Green Deen Tribe is basically a collective that was set up to honor the inner and outer aspects of stewardship. So we know that in the Quran, Allah refers to us as the Khalifa as Khalifas, right? As stewards of the earth, the stewards of the land. And one of the key things that we were trying to do as the Green Deen Tribe is to really honor the outer aspects of being stewards of the land, which is the stuff that we tend to hear a lot about, the recycling, the planting of seeds, the honoring of the land, treating animals mercifully, treating each other mercifully, but then also making sure that that is matched up with our inner state as well. So all of these beautiful things that we are doing for the land are also having an impact on our inner state, right? Because all of this that we're speaking about today, we're speaking about the environment, we're speaking about nature. This is an integral part of our spirituality. And everything that we're speaking about today, we're going to link it back to not just being something that is a quirky interest. Oh, for a very long time, I used to think I was just a weird tree hugger. But then the more I really did, I was just like, oh. And then I read this beautiful narration of the seerah of Prophet Muhammad and how he was towards trees and how he actually even embraced the tree. And I was like, wow, this is all part of the sunnah. And it's these aspects that we tend to miss out a lot within our deen. It's these beautiful, merciful aspects that we tend to skip. And a lot of the times, nature stewardship and nature connection and our responsibility for the environment tends to be left as like a very personal interest. Oh yeah, I'm interested in nature. No, as a Muslim, as somebody who's seeking the divine, this is an integral part of it. There's no separation for it. So one of how the Green Deen Iftar set up was what we do is for many years, since 2017, we've been taking small groups of Muslim women, particularly Muslim women, out into nature and allowing these opportunities and spaces for real encounters with nature to happen. Because how can you steward something, how can you love something, how can you protect something and connect to something if you don't know it? Right? And for many of us, particularly those that are kind of born and bred in London or big cities, our relationship to nature is very kind of, sometimes there might be a bit of fear, sometimes we're not around it. Right? Sometimes the fact that being a person of color in nature can actually make you feel very disconnected and very detached from the space. There are so many different areas where our connection to nature have been fragmented. The same way, particularly as those that are in London, a lot of us are encouraged with being around creations of man. Is this separation from nature, hence the separation from the divine. And so one of the things that came, in actual fact, mashallah, Jumana is sitting right here. And one of the things when Jumana came to our retreat was one of the things, particularly for Jumana, that really sat with her. I don't normally name Jumana, but she's here, so I just normally say there was a sister, but it was Jumana. We spoke a lot about Ramadan, right? And one of the things, a lot of the habits that she was seeing in Ramadan, which were really not in sync with the teachings of Islam, right? And one of the things that we particularly noticed was there was an increase during the month of Ramadan, and let me know if anyone has noticed this within their own life, is that during the month of Ramadan, there's an increase in meat consumption, right? Maybe if you're somebody who eats meat once a week, during the month of Ramadan, it's like anytime you're able to eat, you're eating meat, right? Anytime you're going to the masjid, there's lamb biryani, the next day chicken biryani, the next day lamb biryani. Like there's constantly meat. The other, I was like, what is that? The other thing that we noticed was particularly there was an increase in disposable plastics, right? And this happens a lot when it comes to big gatherings of feeding people. It's a convenient way of feeding people. Totally understand that, but there was a huge increase in disposable plastics. Whether that be water bottles, plastic bags, I don't know, you name it, whatever you're seeing, that tends to happen. And the last thing that we noticed, which to me, I think is one of the things that I find really a bit heartbreaking, but also this is the reality of when we're feeding in community, is that there was a huge increase in food waste, right? Huge increase in food waste. And this is because a lot of the times we see something, we want it, but then it becomes very normal for us that, oh, I can't eat it. And it doesn't become a habit of us to take it away with us and eat it the next morning. Just throw it away, right? Very, very normal. It's a culture that I think a lot of us might not come from traditionally. I can tell you the stories of my grandparents and even my mother about food wasting. No way. Food wasting is gone, but it's become very normalized, right? Because again, we're very detached from our food. And what we wanted to do with the Deen Iftar is bring those three habits and try and bring attention to them. Bring awareness to them. Because when you bring awareness to something, then you're able to change and try. So just I'm briefly going to go through them very, very, very quickly because we've got iftar. This is the main thing. And one of the things particularly, this is what is that? Is that meat? What is this? Thanks. Thank you for that. So this is when we were speaking about food wastage. So one of the things that we noticed, and they asked a couple of statistics when it comes to food wastage for countries that actually, to be honest, cared enough to record the food wastage. One of those countries was Malaysia. And what they noticed is that during the month of Ramadan, there was an increase of about 20 to 25% of food wastage in the month of Ramadan, right? In the month of Ramadan, 20 to 25% increase of food wastage. And that's food wasted in our fridge, the blessed Ramadan fridge that is full all the time, but then also what's on our plates, right? And they actually gave a statistic of about 200,000 tons of food. When I heard this statistic, like my heart dropped. And that's only one country that cared enough to actually record it, right? That's one country. I don't even want to think about Dubai and Saudi. I don't even want to think about some of my own personal cultures of food habits and what we do in this country. And that's what we wanted to bring awareness to, is the fact that becomes very normal. Like we don't even think twice. You can't eat it, throw it away. Like just bringing that back and being like, we spoke about Rahmat at the beginning of this space, and about how Allah sent down everything as a mercy. It feels very uncomfortable to think that we are receiving this mercy and then throwing it away without second thought, right? Without even trying to take it away to our homes. The other thing about the plastic bottles, I won't go too much into this, but one of the key things that we're finding with plastic bottles particularly is that about 70% of the ocean, 70% of the plastics in the ocean. No, that's not true. A lot of the 90% of pollution in the ocean is plastic. I do want to mention this, is that a lot out of that 90%, about 70 or 80% is actually from is industrial, right? So we're here, we're trying to improve our own practices for the sake of Allah, for the sake of our role as stewards, but I'm not here kind of we can't hold ourselves accountable for a system that is inherently a capitalistic system that is inherently toxic and is not based on those ethics and those principles that our deen is based on, right? Because we know that the capital, so we talk about capitalism, but it's one of the things that is very easy is to blame us for everything. But we can only hold ourselves accountable for what we're accountable. And particularly when it comes to water and how Allah speaks about the water being sent from the heavens and how this sort of stuff is damaging the waters and the drinking waters. But then also when you look more into it, it's actually really impacting ourselves, our bodies. And this one, I've learned over the period of doing these green beans, I always need to say this with disclaimer. My name is Rabi Amani, and I'm not against you eating meat. Okay? I'm not saying that eating meat is haram. I'm not saying that it's forbidden. Please don't come for me afterwards. Don't say that I'm telling you that it's haram to eat meat. I'm not telling you that at all. Right? Please, this is my disclaimer. Well, it might be haram to eat this, but but in general, what we're trying to kind of say with this is we always look to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ for how we should eat, right? That is our example, the perfect example. And when we look at the diet of Rasulullah ﷺ, we're not seeing a primary dominant meat eater, right? And there's various reasons for that you could sit and be like, oh, it's because they didn't have meat. No, there's wisdom in everything Rasulullah ﷺ does. And I'm not even going to speak about the ethics of how a lot of our meat is raised, right? That's another conversation for another time. I'm purely just saying, just to be like Rasulullah ﷺ, knowing enough that he didn't eat meat consecutively for 40 days, but then there were times he would be eating meat. The fact that Rasulullah ﷺ would say to his companions and some of the Sahabas to take meat out of their diet in order to soften their hearts and to control their desires, right? But this is one of the actual prescriptions when it comes to kind of controlling desires, controlling the ego, and softening your heart, is to take meat out. And if during the month of Ramadan we're having meat every single day, 24, not 27, but every suhoor, iftar in between, what is this doing to the state of our hearts? Right? Particularly if we're eating meat that might not be the most plain, right? So this is what I'm going to say about that. I really am aware of, I'm not standing from a place of perfection, right? In actual fact, I've noticed myself, particularly Ramadan, a lot of people come to the house, they bring me food, and there's always meat. So I've probably eaten the most meat I've eaten in my entire life during the month of Ramadan. But it's this awareness, because once we bring ourselves aware, then we can start to change. I'm not kind of. So, just going back, reduce meat consumption, reduce use of disposable plastics, and reduce food waste, inshallah. So just before we leave, I'm going to leave you. I really want to connect to all of you. Please join us on Instagram and Green Bean Tribe. We have 2 retreats coming up. We've got a retreat for ladies, which is about walking the land. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I really want us to do some storytelling. But just please check on Instagram. That's for the ladies. We have a fellowship retreat that's coming up as well. Please have a look at that. And then we also have a retreat that's happening in May that is for families, for both men and women. We should be looking at the names of Allah, particularly the signs of the names of Allah, the nature, but also just connecting to them, inshallah. Okay, I'm going to hand, what we are going to do now, inshallah, is that we've got Jamanna, who's an incredible storyteller. And I really just wanted Jamanna to kind of, one of the key things about being in spaces of gathering is to have creativity and to really access our imagination. So I'm going to ask Jamanna to share a story and then take us into Iftar with a dua. And what we normally do at the Green Bean Iftars is that just a few moments before the adhan, we have silence, right? Which is an opportunity for you to make your own dua. So it really makes sure that we're making the most of that last minute or second before the adhan. And then we'll make a silent dua, and then we'll call. Well, I won't call the adhan. I don't know. Somebody will call the adhan, inshallah.
James.
Yeah, somebody will call the adhan, inshallah. Bismillah. I'm going to hand over to, just as we're handing over to Jamanna, just turn to a different neighbor of yours and just kind of, what have you done for nature today? As a steward, how have you stewarded nature today? Bismillah. It's really sounding like there's. I love that there's an opportunity for conversation. We have Aisha here. Really, thank you so much. It's really, really fun. We have Aisha here who's taken
Guys, you guys want to move a little bit
a few
further?
pictures for a British Muslim publication, just to capture the kind of work that's being done here. If you're uncomfortable or would rather not be on camera, then please speak to her. She's understand. But please speak to her like her. Is that okay with everyone? If you're not speak, just grab her. Please don't grab her. Just before we begin Jamanda's story, I'm just going to invite you to shuffle forward a little bit more. Because more people are coming. We want to make sure there's always space. There's always space. I learned that on homework. There's always space.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was there.
Don't worry. You've always been space. All right, this is good. Thank you so much. I'm going to hand over to Jamanda.
Thank you so much, Robbie. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Walaikum assalam.
I'm good, thank you. How are you? Excellent to see you too, and to see everyone. And the story I'd like to share tonight is a really well-known story. It's told all around the world. There are many different versions of the story. It's not a uniquely Islamic story, and I like that actually because it's a story where just people congregate around important values and special values. But this version is from Sudan, and so this version has that kind of Sudanese grace, that hikmah, that wisdom, that lutf, that subtlety that we know that comes from Sudan. And so I really like it for that, and I think you'll find it in the story. I think you'll see it. So. Storytelling is not a solo activity, it's a group activity. We have to cook it together. So I say, a story, you say, let it come, let it go. Is that okay? Let's try it. A story, let it come, let it go. Hungry. And a little bit, you don't be shy. We need to really release your inner flourish. Yeah, and just let the story come. And when we've heard it, we'll let it go. A story.
Let it come, let it go.
Once upon a time, long ago, there was once an old man, a farmer, and he lived a long life, and he lived a good life, and he lived a rich life, and now he was coming towards the autumn of his days. And as he came towards the end of his life, he called his sons to him. He had 3 sons. They were now all grown, all strong. On a good day, you could say they were perhaps distracted or preoccupied and didn't want to get involved with the running of the farm. On a bad day, you could say they were downright lazy. So when the farmer called them to him, he said, "Listen, my sons, I don't have much longer left in this world, and so I want to give you my inheritance. I leave the whole of my farm to you. The barn, the field, everything is all yours now." And the sons were not that impressed, to be honest, at that point. They didn't know what to do with the farm. They'd never helped their father to work on the land or to take care of the animals or fix the barn. But they loved their father. He said, "But listen, I want to tell you something I've never ever told you before, and that is that in the field behind the barn, I buried a very great treasure." And at that, their eyes lit up. Now they were interested. They liked the sound of that. He said, "You must look for it together. And if you look for it together, then you must share it together and have my blessing that the treasure is yours." And then their father grew quiet. He grew still, and he wouldn't say much more. And for those last few days, he set his sight on that final journey, that last journey. He would never return. Well, after the father passed, the brothers mourned. And after the mourning time had passed, they began to take care of their inheritance. They looked at that field and they said, where on earth did he bury the treasure? And they began to think about all the different things they would do with the treasure when they found it. One brother began to think about a fine horse he'd seen in a neighboring village and how he would buy that. And another brother began to think about the clothes he would buy. And the third brother began to think about his new iPhone. It is a story from long, long ago. I just put that in. But you get my point. They began to dream and imagine everything they would do with that treasure. And now they were very motivated to get those tools out from the house, and they began to dig. That whole first week, they dug and they dug and they dug over the land. They hadn't even dug half the field, and still they hadn't found the treasure. Where did they bury it, they said? Walking past, they saw their father's sister, their khala, their auntie. Assalamu alaikum. She says to them, alaikum salam, they replied. Auntie, they said, khala, did our father ever tell you where he buried his treasure? No, she said, I don't know anything about it, but look, now you've dug half the field. Here. She pulled out a bag of seed corn. Not it, she said. Wait for the rains. Here, I'll show you how to fix the walls of the field so they collect the rain and the corn will grow. All right then, Auntie, they said, why not? And so they began to fix the walls of the field and they planted the corn. And when the rains came, the field flooded. And days later, the strong Sudanese sun shone and little green shoots came through. The brothers were peaceful. They said, we'll let them grow before we look for the treasure again. So the corn grew and the corn grew up to their knees, right up, taller than them. And when they were ready, they harvested a good crop of corn. Some they put in the barn, some they sold, some they kept. Plant again. They said, but we'll have to dig everything up to keep looking for that treasure.
Thank you.
So they continued to dig. And this time, after they harvested this crop, they dug to right the other side of the field, right to the corner, right up to those walls that they were fixing. Still, they found no treasure. But it was time to plant again. Their auntie reminded them the rains will soon be here. And so they planted once again. And the rains came, and the sun shone strong and hot. And once more, the green shoots came through, and they were pleased to see them. And they said, welcome. They were so pleased to see something they'd grown themselves. The corn grew tall, and the corn grew strong. Well, after this next crop, the brothers said, look, we really have to find the treasure this time. What about under that old tree where our father used to like to sit? Maybe he buried it there. So they dug. And they dug under that tree and they didn't find it. And they dug deeper than they dug before, and still they didn't find the treasure. But the time came to plant once again, and they planted the third crop. And the rains came, you know the pattern now. The rains came and the sun shone, and the corn grew tall and good. But when they took that third crop in, it was the richest crop they had. And they fixed their barn, and it wasn't a barn like you might see in the countryside in Sussex. No, it was an elegant barn, the kind they make in Sudan on stilts to stop the little creatures climbing up. And it had a round, flat roof. And this time after this crop, that barn was bursting with good corn, and they had enough to sell. People came to ask for it.
Melones.
It was a good season.
In Spain, big ones, like this one. Dates? They fall on the birds.
This year,
From the trees.
this year, the barn was full.
Better ones.
And the brothers stood
Like Morocco.
watching everything they had done. And their aunt walked past them one more time. Sons of my brother did, she said. have you found your father's treasure yet? Not yet, Khala, they said. Not yet. But they stood watching over that farm. The farm, bursting full, as I told you, the fields dug over all the land and their father's old tree. And as they stood watching, the sun began to set. And as the sun began to set, the golden light of the sunset spilled over the horizon. And the whole of the land was flooded with this golden light. It was across the land. And the golden light fell across the barn. And the golden light fell across the brothers, across their skin, across the tools they'd used to dig the land. And the golden light felt the burnished, polished gold. The brothers smiled at each other, realizing slowly. Perhaps then we have found our treasure. Story. A little bit more. I know. It's a try a little bit more. Okay. A story.
Let it come, let it go.
So we are going to close with a dua. 6 minutes for a dua. So this dua is actually from a book written by a woman called Robin Chimera, and it's called Raising Sweetgrass, Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teaching of Plants. And she describes in her book her journey as a biologist, how she began to incorporate her indigenous knowledge into her academic work. It's a really incredible book. And one of the parts that she describes in the book is the prayer or the thanksgiving or the address of the Haudenosaunee nations, the 6 nations of indigenous people. And this is a beautiful address to the natural world. And so we just wanted to choose a little bit of that to read because it aligns so much with Tawheed and with kind of interdependence with the natural world, with forming a relationship with nature around us. It's really important to say that this address, the Haudenosaunee people have asked for this address to be shared. And, we were really cautious about that because we didn't want it to be something that was just appropriated and stolen. And so it's just really important to say that this address has been asked to be shared. I'm going to start it with our Bismillah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, all kind of merciful and prayers and blessings in the noblest of messages. Today we have gathered, and when we look upon the faces around us, we see that cycles of life continue. We have been given the duty to live in balance, in harmony with each other and all living things. So now let us bring our minds together as one, as we give greetings and thanks to each other as people. And now our minds are one. We are thankful to our Mother, the Earth, for she gives us everything that we need for life. She supports us as we walk. To our Mother, we send thanksgiving, love, and respect. Now our minds are one. Now we turn to the vast fields of plant life. As far as the eye can see, the plants grow, working many wonders. They sustain many life forms. With our minds gathered together, we give thanks and look forward to seeing plant life for many generations to come. Now our minds are one. With one mind, we honor and thank all of the animals, and we thank them for everything they contribute to us and to the earth. And now our minds are one. Robin says that you can't listen to the Thanksgiving address without feeling wealthy. And while expressing gratitude seems innocent enough, she says it is a revolutionary idea. In a consumer society, is a radical proposition. Recognizing abundance rather than scarcity undermines an economy that thrives by creating unmet desires. Gratitude cultivates an ethical fullness, but the economy needs emptiness. It's a beautiful long prayer, beautiful long song, a beautiful long poem. I'm going to finish it for us. I can show you where to find it. I'm going to finish it with how the people themselves finish the address. So they thanked the water, the winds, the earth, the trees, the plants, the animals, the fish, the birds, the waters. So now this is the final address. Now we turn our thoughts to the Creator, or Great Spirit, and send greetings and thanks for all the gifts of creation. Everything we need to live a good life is here on Mother Earth. And we thank the Creator for all the love that is still around us. We gather our minds together as one. We send our choicest words of greetings and thanks to the Creator. And now our minds are one. So we're just going to have a few moments of silence before that.
Thank you. Sorry, my sister.
والله أكبر الله خير السلام خير السلام خير السلام خير السلام الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
Adios.